Like, I wanted to see this. Yo, I've been waiting for this to come back. I'm not even joking. Daredevil, and I'm not even gonna lie to you. I think I might have seen like probably 3 episodes of like the original one. So I missed out on that. And that's only because I never be watching Netflix. So I wonder if I gotta watch the Netflix show before I watch this. I missed a lot. I didn't watch the Punisher show either. I feel like a lot of those shows were like skippable. I think maybe because back then I was like more focused on just trying to watch the movies, but majority of those shows did tie into the movies, and you know, you probably missed out on some key things that probably happened, but probably not too key because it could have went noticeable if you only watched the movies. But I like little details and things and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Everything that ties in, bring things together, man. I like stuff like that. So who knows? Maybe I'll go back and watch those shows. But this is Daredevil, Born Again, and we're gonna watch this trailer. I heard it was real good. So, all right.
Thank you for finding the time.
Oh boy, Murdoch.
I will admit, it's not entirely unpleasant seeing you again.
Yo, how
A lot
tall
of time
was
has passed. By the look of it, you've come up in the world.
I could say the same about
how
you.
tall is he supposed to be?
The mayor.
I can't think of his name right now. Kingpin.
I can see you're
I
not
thought Kingpin
entirely
was supposed
convinced.
to be like 7 feet tall in the comic books.
Can you blame me? I can't shake the feeling that you're gaming the system.
Why did you stop being a vigilante?
The line was crossed.
It's hard to come to terms with a violent nature. Hating the power it has over us.
It's a violent ass show.
This city can't go unchecked.
Sometimes peace needs to be broken. And chaos must reign.
Oh, that's the Punisher.
Am I putting the hatchet down? I was raised to believe in grace.
Who is that supposed to be with the white man?
I was also raised to believe in retribution.
God damn! When did this come out? I need to watch this. March 4th. Right around the corner. On Disney Plus. I gotta get Disney Plus again, y'all. Oh my goodness. I look-y want to rewatch. What's the name? Hold on, let me look this up. I don't need to see nobody else reactions. That looked like that's gonna be really enjoyable. I'm kind of mad that I missed out on so much. Let's watch this. Let's watch this.
I'm done spending an obscene amount of money on takeout every
Catch
done.
me up to
I'm
speed,
getting
little
back on
bruh.
track with Factor. Fresh.
I will admit, it's not entirely unpleasant seeing you again.
Hey, welcome back to Screen Crush. I'm Ryan Airy, and this is all of the Easter eggs, references, and little things you might have missed in the first trailer for Daredevil Born Again. Guys, I am so excited for this show. I read Frank Miller's original Daredevil comic when I was 11 years old, and it expanded my idea of what a comic book could be. So we're going to explain all of those comic references in this trailer, and how this show does and does not connect to that original Daredevil Netflix series. Also, before I get rolling, I want to thank all of you who turned out to our live shows in Phoenix and LA this week. It was a blast to meet you all in person, and and we're in Dallas and Houston this weekend, so you can get ticket links below to see special guests, exclusive breakdowns, and frankly, it's just nice to get out of the house and meet people. We'll have a special sneak peek at the end of the video. So this show is titled Daredevil Born Again, which has a couple of meanings. One, it's obviously a nod to Frank Miller's Daredevil Born Again storyline from the comics. So this was a groundbreaking arc that is first and foremost about Matt Murdock, and Daredevil barely appears. In this story, Kingpin buys the secret of Daredevil's secret identity from Karen Page, who has become a heroin addict. Then he systematically destroys Matt's life, gets him disbarred, destroys his house, and Matt has to claw his way back from near insanity. See, many of these events, though, were already adapted in Daredevil Season 3, while this show is going to draw from more recent comics. But the title is also a nod to this show moving from Netflix to the MCU.
But I thought it was always part of the MCU.
Well, it gets complicated. You see, Marvel TV was a whole separate division from Marvel Studios, who made the movies, and they even operated out of different offices. The movie people didn't really like that the TV people were using characters like Daredevil that they might want to use at a later date, and Marvel TV then signed a 5-show deal with Netflix. But because of production scheduling, it was basically impossible for the movies to address the events of the shows, while the shows kind of addressed the movies.
This office was barely touched by the incident.
The incident, is that what we're calling it now?
But then the Netflix deal expired and all Marvel TV shows are made to air on Disney+. So that original Daredevil Netflix series is canon to the MCU, mostly. There may be some events that they don't address that never really happened in this universe, but all the important stuff is part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And there's even a nod to the Netflix Luke Cage show in the trailer that I'll explain in a bit. Now, Born Again has also had all these production problems, with Marvel scrapping most of the series and starting over after seeing that Daredevil didn't even appear in the suit for at least 3 episodes. But now we've got a return to Daredevil's gritty glory, and I cannot wait to break down this trailer for this show. The trailer opens with Daredevil fighting Muse in his hideout. Now notice he's back to the dark red suit from the Netflix show. In the series She-Hulk, we saw a throwback to his original yellow suit from the comics, leading fans to be kind of afraid that this new Disney Plus show would be all lighthearted and campy, kind of similar to when Matt Murdock moved to San Francisco in the comics and was actually living a happy life. And we get the impression that now, while Matt was briefly retired from being a vigilante, he had achieved some measure of peace. Now the villain in this scene is called Muse, one of the creepiest opponents Daredevil has ever faced. Like, he considers himself an artist first.
Like Joker in Batman '89.
I make art until someone dies.
Exactly. Muse once took the blood of 100 of his victims and then used them to paint a giant mural. In the trailer, we see him painting an anti-Fisk mural. Now, this is probably in response to Fisk outlawing costume vigilantes, just like he does when he becomes mayor in the comics. In this layer, we do see drawings and a stack of paint cans. But the setting here is also important. He's in a basement. He's underground. Now, there's a lot of imagery in this trailer of Daredevil being below, in basements, in the gutter, closer to hell, while Matt is usually featured above ground and in the light. As we'll see, this is about how that devil persona has always been a temptation for Matt Murdock, leading him away from the godly life and into a life of violent retribution.
Oh, sorry, President. Hello.
Yeah, so many different suits.
I was just internet searching for weight loss drugs the other day.
That dog looks so sad.
Hang up. That's
Oh, sorry. Call waiting. Hello. Huh, this person is just breathing heavy and chanting my name.
That's spam callers and stalkers. Just hang up.
But how did spam callers and stalkers get my personal
like
phone
meat
number?
wad.
Was it you, person?
No, it wasn't me. The messed up part is they probably bought your number legally from online data brokers. See, the internet is filled with shady people who pay huge money just for access to your private data. I know this because I also used to get a ton of spam phone calls and emails.
Oh, but you don't get those
I
calls
still be
anymore?
getting them.
Very rarely, because I signed up for Incogni. They're the sponsor of this video. Incogni is by far one of the best products that I talk about on this channel. This is the app that they don't want you to know about. You can sign up right now with our link below using code ScreenCrush to get an exclusive 60% off an annual Incogni plan at incogni.com/ScreenCrush. See guys, these shady companies can get your info so easy it is scary. Like you might have noticed, you search for some medical condition and then you get ads for that same condition. Well, that's because these companies are selling your data to giant firms called data brokers, and then they sell your information back to other advertisers. So far, Incogni has found 496 companies that were selling my sensitive information. Like, you would be shocked how much of your personal data is just out there on the internet. We're talking your search history, financial records, health history, and they were selling this information to the highest bidder. In fact, Incogni even tells you the dangers associated with these companies: data leaks, spam calls, and even stalking.
Yeah, like Breathe Heavy guy.
Exactly, but Incogni contacts those companies on your behalf, and they legally have to remove your information. So far, Incogni has completed 251 removal requests on my behalf, so my personal information is now being suppressed. After signing up, I get almost no spam and I don't get robocalls.
I don't know
like
what
the
it
one
stops.
that Doug just got.
I literally don't care about
highly
what he's talking
recommend
about
giving
right now.
Incogni a try. Use my code ScreenCrush with the link below to get an exclusive deal, 60% off an Incogni plan. It's a great deal that you don't want to miss. Now, back to what I was saying. And then we cut to Matt and Fisk in the diner. Now, we saw this diner in the original Netflix show. It's where Matt and Elektra meet up in season 2, episode 6. And in the flashback, we see Fisk's hand twitching, like he does when he's starting to feel that violent impulse. We also get a good look at his cufflinks.
One of the coolest things about ZZZ is the environments and how real they feel. For example, if you go to Lumina Square, you can see the stores, people crossing the road, and
he used to wear his father's cufflinks as a reminder that he was not his father, that he did not commit violence for the sake of violence. But as we see in this trailer, he does love committing violence, but then he hates himself afterwards, just like Matt. And this is punctuated by the sound of his knuckles cracking. Now, Matt and Wilson are two men who have always wanted to make the city better, and each of them struggled to contain their violent impulses to achieve this goal. Now, as they're talking, we see Fisk fighting home invaders in an underground art gallery. Now, this is probably his private collection, because here we see the painting Rabbit in a Snowstorm. This art piece has like deep history in the Netflix show. Wilson first bought it from Vanessa. That's how they met. But the painting always calmed him down because it reminded him of the white wall his father made him look at as a child. For him, it's a symbol of purity, but it was tarnished with blood in the season 3 finale. Notice he's left the blood on the painting instead of having it cleaned, probably as a reminder that when he tries to clean up the city, there will always be someone trying to keep it dirty. Now, in the comics, when Fisk becomes mayor, he struggles to leave behind his criminal enterprise, and that might be what's happening here. Other gang members, seeing the power vacuum, send assassins to his home. Also, this is another classic Daredevil hallway fight. In seasons 1, 2, 3, and in the Defender show, we got to see these gorgeous long take fights in hallways. Now, we actually broke down the season 1 fight in this video. Back in the diner, notice Fisk's American flag pin. Now, in the comics, he actually rigged the vote to become mayor, but it was later revealed that he actually would have won the vote anyways. The people of the city were so desperate for change, for a strong leader, that they turned to a convicted criminal to lead the city. In the comics and in the show, Fisk runs an anti-vigilante platform and immediately outlaws heroes like Luke Cage, Daredevil, and Spider-Man. He says,
"It's not entirely unpleasant seeing you again."
But notice his hand twitching. I think this is actually because Fisk wants Daredevil in his life. He wants someone to be the target of all his rage, someone that he can beat up guilt-free. Now, I want to take a second to explain Fisk's arc in the MCU so far. In the show Hawkeye, we saw him as a leader of small-time gangs. Vincent D'Onofrio said that in his mind, Fisk was struggling to regain control of his empire post-Blip. And that show ended with Maya, his surrogate daughter, blinding him. Then, in the show Echo, Fisk got extensive surgery that returned his vision as he tried to bring Maya back into his criminal enterprise. Now, Fisk gains control of his empire, and then he sends men to kill Maya when she rejects him before the power of her ancestors defeats all of his goons. Now, the show Echo went through extensive re-editing, and there are reports that Daredevil, who cameoed in the first episode, would have played a larger role in that series. But then they changed this show's premise, and now Matt has stopped being a vigilante for a while. So it wouldn't make as much sense if he was collaborating with Maya. At least I think that's why they trimmed down that show. Echo ended with Fisk getting the idea to run for mayor.
A bare-knuckle brawler would do well in this race, an outsider, somebody who is not afraid to take on the establishment.
He says,
"A lot of time has passed."
Which has a couple of meanings. The last Daredevil episode aired pre-pandemic, and Matt has not been a vigilante for a while, within this universe. And then we see a shot of New York shrouded in fog, symbolic of how Fisk has descended on the city. He's created an environment where nothing really feels true anymore. The lines between right and wrong have been blurred when a convicted felon got elected to the highest office in the city. And I want to remind you guys that we have some awesome Daredevil parody merch like this, Return of the King, and of course the Nelson and Murdoch parody shirt in the style of Law and Order. You can find this along with other great Marvel merch like Tony giving birth to Ultron, like the Ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, at our merch store, ScreenCrushMerch.com. We designed all this merch ourselves for you guys. And below, you can find links to our newsletter so you don't miss any new deals or drops. It's easy to sign up. The link is below. He says,
"By the look of it, you've come up in the world."
And this is true, professionally and personally. We see Matt laughing with Karen and Foggy, showing that their friendship has mended. In the comics and in the show, Foggy has disapproved of Matt's double life. So, when he simply becomes Matt Murdock again, they can be pals. And then we see images of Mayor-elect Fisk wishing everybody Happy New Year in Times Square. Notice, of course, the giant ad for Rogers the Musical. But also this Pim Van Dyne billboard. That's the new company that Scott and Hope formed in Quantum Mania. And they're sponsoring New Year's, as indicated by the top hat that this person is wearing. And if that person looks familiar, it's because that's your mom. But also, and this is my favorite Easter egg from the trailer, there's an ad here for Harlem's Paradise with a quote from Luke Cage about how good the club is.
Oh, what's Harlem's Paradise?
Well, it's a criminal club that Cottonmouth and Mariah ran on the show Luke Cage. And season 2 ended with him taking control of the club, but we never got to see what happened next. So hopefully, Marvel's going to bring back the Luke Cage series as well. In the comics, Fisk becomes mayor to assume ultimate power of the city and the legal system that Matt loves so much. But he also wants to prove that he can succeed on a legitimate scale. In the show, it seems like he has the same goal, to finally have the tools to clean up the city and to remake it in his image.
The mayor serves his city.
Oh, he's
we
a
see
mayor.
News creating the graffiti of him where he seems to wear two faces, with Kingpin
totally
painted
overlooked
across
that.
the chest, reflecting what Matt says here.
I can't shake the feeling that you're gaming the system.
Which, like I said, Fisk does in the comics when he rigs the election. But then Wilson replies,
Why did you stop being a vigilante?
In other words, Fisk knows that Matt also used to game the system for his own benefit, but he did it as Daredevil. Matt replies,
The line was crossed.
Now, in the Mayor Fisk comic book run, Matt does beat a guy up who ends up having a medical condition, and then that criminal later dies from the injuries. So Matt, racked with guilt, turns himself in and stops being Daredevil. And I think that's what's happening here. We see his mask falling down with a broken horn, leaving a D in its place for Daredevil. Now this shot lines up with a brief moment in the TV spot that we got a few weeks ago where Matt throws Bullseye through the window at Josie's bar. We can see to the left of the Daredevil mask Josie's bar and what looks like bloodied playing cards on the sidewalk. Now that is Bullseye's signature weapon. So maybe Matt kills Bullseye, who we're going to talk about in just a bit. But I also love the framing of this shot. The camera is set up for a God's eye view to capture the mask falling downwards. The visual message is clear. Daredevil is not only falling, but he is descending into hell. See, Matt Murdock is a devout Catholic, and so biblical imagery plays an important role in his comics and in this series. So this God's eye shot is calling back to this shot from Matt's origin in the first episode, to portray the events of his origin as the will of God. And then in the trailer, we see Matt on the tracks holding a body. Now this could also be a callback to Daredevil's fight with Bullseye in Daredevil 162, when he almost leaves Bullseye on the tracks to die, but then saves his life. Like I said, this could be the line that he almost crosses. But religious metaphors are also subtly placed throughout this trailer. Our editor Randolph Nabrato also pointed out the music in the trailer is primarily pipe organs used in Catholic music. And the title, Born Again, is also a reference to the resurrection of Christ and people who are finding salvation who call themselves born again Christians. And then we see a fight on the subway. So this man is Hector Ayala.
I love you, man.
In the 23 trailer, we saw Matt visit him in prison. Hector tries to break up a subway fight, and we see here a man gets hit by the train and dies. So in the comics, Hector is actually the vigilante, the White Tiger. But this is actually a mantle that is passed around through his family. They have tiger spirit powers that are connected to the amulet that we see him wearing here. Now, as Fisk talks about the power that violence holds over us, we see Matt fighting these guys in his apartment, guys who were sent there to kill him. Now notice how the blood drops sync up with the heartbeat. So there's a few meanings here. Obviously, there's the bloodshed of the guys that Matt's beating up, but there's also Muse, who uses blood as an art medium.
That's creepy.
But also, Matt's powers allow him to detect heartbeats. So in a way, his ability to fight stems from the power of blood coursing through criminals' veins. Now in this shot, we see Benjamin Poindexter. In Daredevil Season 3, he's a mentally unstable FBI agent who Fisk slowly recruits, and then he uses Poindexter to frame Daredevil. In the comics, he is the villain Bullseye, Daredevil's greatest, most deadly enemy after Kingpin. So in BTS photos, we have seen him wearing a comic-accurate costume, and I cannot wait to see these two face off properly in this show. So we see Matt in Times Square as people celebrate. Now notice though the red lights are reflecting off of this mist, making it seem like he is surrounded by smoke and flames. Again, the visual metaphor here is that Matt is in the hell of Kingpin's New York, just as we hear
The city can't go unchecked.
implying that now
Let's go!
With the Paramount Plus with Showtime plan, you get next level action, next level drama.
Now Matt has to suit up as Daredevil once again. That's why we see this shot of him at the top of a basement. It's time for Matt to once again descend into the underworld. This could be him going into Muse's hideout or to Kingpin's art gallery. But either way, I think it's connected to this shot of his helmets. So let's break down these helmets.
I'm so freaking excited!
that?
This one could be the helmet from the 2023 Daredevil comic when we see the purified Daredevil suit. But that's assuming that this is a white helmet that just looks gray in the dark lighting. If the helmet is actually a silver or a gray color, it could be a reference to the Armored Avenger Daredevil costume. This helmet appears to be his new helmet for this show. Next, we have his yellow helmet from She-Hulk, which was inspired by his original costume in the comics. This black helmet is in reference to the Shadowland comics from 2010 when Daredevil is essentially possessed and runs the hand. We're also going to see Daredevil donning a similar black costume in the upcoming animated Spider-Man series, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, which Charlie Cox will be voicing. And lastly, we have what appears to be his original helmet from the Netflix show. In the comics, after he stops being Daredevil, it takes him a while to get back into shape, and I think we'll see the same thing happen here, as all through the trailer we see Daredevil having a harder time to beat up goons. Then we see Matt dancing with Heather Glenn, one of his love interests from the comics. Muse here throwing a smoke grenade, or maybe it could be Bullseye, and then Vanessa and Fisk are eating in his art gallery in front of Rabbit in a snowstorm, probably just before the attack that we saw at the start of the trailer. And then this. Matt has sought out his former client, Frank Castle, aka the Punisher. Look, as a character, I don't even like the Punisher that much, but he is a lot of fun. So I'm very excited to see him in the actual MCU and potentially cross over with other heroes in Doomsday and Secret Wars. He says,
Am I putting the hatchet down?
Which is another way of saying, can we bury the hatchet after all of our differences? And then we see Michael Gandolfini, son of the late great James Gandolfini, playing a new character named Daniel Blade. Now Daniel also goes to Matt's apartment to beat him up later in the trailer. My theory is that he's playing Kingpin's son Butch, who plays a major role in the Muse storyline and Mayor Fisk's storylines in the comics. He is Fisk's illegitimate son, and he ends up making him heir to his criminal empire.
Like Andy Garcia in Godfather 3.
Sure. Then we see Muse's victims hanging from chains, which our editor Ethan Ink thinks is so he can drain their blood to paint with, like in his comic storyline. Now I do wonder though if they're going to keep his powers from the comics, when he's able to create a kind of sensory barrier around himself so Matt cannot detect him. And then we see these guys in colored masks robbing a bank, where Matt Murdock is held up and does not flinch. Now I think this happens while he's still retired, and this might be the incident that gets him back in the mess. He beats up one of these guys and steals his mask. And as our own Brianna McLarty pointed out, the billy club used in this scene looks like it's a broken walking stick. Appropriate, since in the comics his stick detaches to make two billy clubs. Now here's another of Muse's drawings depicting a screaming man with a crown that reads us. So I think this is a play on the Kingpin's crown and how him becoming mayor leads to the suffering of the people. We see Matt on a roof training to use his billy club again after being retired for so long. Now, here when he talks about his Catholic upbringing, he says,
I was also raised to believe in retribution.
Which of course is all throughout the Old Testament. God punishes Adam and Eve, punishes Cain, destroys the world in the flood, destroys Sodom and Gomorrah, and destroys Philistine armies that oppress his people. Then we cut back to the scene where Matt is getting beat up in his apartment. But now that sense of retribution roars up in him. He lets the devil out, fights back, and wins. And the trailer ends with him intercut with Daredevil screaming. It's a way of showing that these two entities are becoming one once again. Matt is through working in the daylight and he's letting the devil back out. And then we see the new logo. Now notice the city at the bottom of the logo. It's a way of showing us that the city is going to be about the seedy underbelly of the MCU that they never show in movies. Guys, I am so excited for this show. It is going to be great.
Yeah, seems like it's going to be pretty awesome.
Meanwhile,
Hey, that's screen crushing Ryan Airy. You see, Paul from the Heavy Spoilers channel, I also hate small dogs because obviously I'm a bad person. Now I know something that's really gonna get them. I'm gonna send them to a far away, far distant city where they can never come back. I'm sending them to
Houston, Texas.
Well, I don't know, boss. That seems kind of mean.
Shut up or I'll give you a fresh one. Now activate the Destructo Beam.
Proud of yourself.
Wow, are we in Houston, Texas? Doug! I hope he's okay.
Word.
That's right, guys. This weekend and next week, we're going to be in Dallas and Houston.
Well, that's for your core fans, and I'm not a core fan, and I also don't feel like watching this video because I ain't gonna lie, me just sitting here, I was like low-key starting to get sleepy, but I will be looking forward to seeing that in March. But now, it's time to play the game. Yo, give me like 2 minutes. Hold on.